Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Wednesday morning to you all. I hope you guys are waking up and feeling good out there this morning and having a wonderful start to your day. And I hope everyone's been having a great week out there so far. We do have a lot to talk about in this morning's video as we're going to have a dynamic day and night of weather. This storm system's pretty wild right now. It's bringing blizzard conditions across areas of the plains. We've even had some severe thunderstorm warnings with the same storm system, but on the warmer side of it. So we're going to speak on both. We're going to give you updated information on the blizzard side and what's to come, upstream from the storm system. And the severe weather side of this has really increased, especially the risk of tornadoes. We have went basically from yesterday morning having a below a 2% risk of a tornado to now a 10% risk of strong tornadoes across areas of the Midwest. So we're going to really focus in on both sides of this storm system. We'll section off states. We'll get you guys the information you're seeking. So after we get done doing that, we'll talk a little bit about this weekend storm upcoming. But honestly, I'm just going to show you guys the outlook. After we can get past this storm system for today, into tonight, we will really begin to focus on the weekend storm system that'll bring another risk of severe weather across the South. And then we'll round the video off by speaking on the rest of the country as far as today and tonight's weather. If you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And of course, if anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. Let's get rocking and rolling this morning. So this is our storm system. If you know something different with the radar that I normally show you guys, well, they updated their site and it looks awesome in my opinion. I love the way it looks. So this is what we're working with this morning. The blue or the bluish white color, whatever you want to call that, that is snow, and it is falling at a heavy clip all the way down into the western half of Kansas. And this is where we're getting blizzard conditions. We're getting blizzard conditions all the way through central Nebraska. Looks like you're going to switch to some very heavy snow from Lincoln to Omaha very soon if you haven't already done so by the time you're watching this video. It has already switched to snow in the northwest areas of Iowa. So this system's pretty much evolving the way we thought it would. Now you see this little area right in here. This is where there's a little bit of warm and moist air surging up through eastern Iowa. We've actually had some severe thunderstorm warnings for these storms just south of Waterloo. But this snow will continue to make its way through southern areas of Minnesota. Now this system has trended a little bit further south. This has taken some of the heavier snow that was originally predicted in Minneapolis and kind of pushed it back south. But the storm system's moving in now, and you never know. You guys could end up getting more snow than what's forecast. And we'll talk about those forecast snow amounts here in a second. But this system's going to continue to trail up through this way. So I'm going to draw on this a little bit. The system itself, low pressure somewhere into here. Okay. System's going to continue to kind of do this right here. So the axis of this heavy snow is going to move right up through here. And we're going to open up a corridor that is going to support ingredients for severe weather right through here. Okay. Especially in that circled area. So this is what's going on right now. A pretty compact, strong storm system. It's not massive, but it's very dynamic. So let's continue to move forward here. This is what's changed. We have an enhanced risk now. And this happens a lot, especially when you get into summer. But it happens a lot in spring and summer where severe chances increase the day of or kind of the overnight before the day of. But we now have an enhanced risk. So I know I got viewers from this area. Let's go on and zoom into this region. If you live in this orange area, enhanced risk, level 3 out of 5. This includes areas like Peoria, Bloomington, down here to say almost to Effingham, not quite, almost all the way up into Juliet, and not quite up to Chicago. But some of this could change, okay? But I mean, let's zoom this out. Basically, the heart of Illinois, and does get into a very small section of western Indiana. And then you got the slight risk from Chicago up to Rockford, Davenport, all the way down to Jacksonville, to Evansville, Indiana, to Indianapolis, Greenwood, Bloomington, Lafayette, Fort Wayne. This does get a little bit into western Ohio, like Greenville, Paulding, hopefully I said that right, Defiance, Bryan, Salina, Van Wert, hopefully I am saying these names right, giving it the best I can here. And this slight risk actually extends into a very small section of southwest Lower Michigan. So South Bend is included into this too. I know that's not Michigan, but you get what I'm saying. Benton Harbor, Three Rivers, slight risk, level 2 out of 5. And then we got a marginal risk. Don't ignore the marginal risk either. And this outlook could change, but we got a level 1 out of 5 risk of severe weather all the way up through Milwaukee, back to Des Moines, back to Detroit, down to Columbus, Lexington, Kentucky, Louisville, Kentucky, down to Nashville, Memphis, St. Louis, Tupelo, down to Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, Meridian, Jackson, Mississippi, Jackson, Tennessee. So definitely an increased risk. And I do expect this outlook to tweak some. I don't think we'll get a bump up to a moderate risk or anything like that, but it could broaden, get larger. Now, I want to say this right off the dot. The wild thing about this is this area right here. You guys are going to get a risk of tornadoes this afternoon, but by the time you're waking up tomorrow morning, you could have a burst of heavy snow. So that's what I'm saying. Very dynamic storm system. The tornado threat. The reason you got to bump up to an enhanced risk is because of the tornado threat. So those same areas that I just mentioned for the enhanced risk area, a 10% risk of a strong tornado within 25 miles in a given location. So you could get a quick EF2 or higher tornado. The storm speed with the speed of these storms is going to be fast. So now I think it will be, for the most part, discrete supercells. So you'll probably see these if they do occur. Let's hope they don't. But they will be moving fast, so take tornado warning serious. But I take the brown area and the green area serious too. The brown area, it's a 5% risk of a tornado within 25 miles in a given location. Indianapolis, you guys are included in this. I've understood why this map has never kind of pinpointed Indianapolis, but that's Indianapolis right there. Chicago down to Evansville over to Davenport, and then the 2% risk in the green area. Wind threat, you got to take serious too. Pretty large area. 15% risk in this region of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour. And the hail threat is really going to be where these storms become discrete if they do. 15% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger in this area. So let's break it down state by state. Let's talk about Illinois. It's going to be the big state first, and then we'll show you some ingredients, parameters, things like that. So it does have timestamps up on your screen. Just look up here. It says 8 a.m. CDT Central Time. So I've been showing you this lately because it has town names and it has the timing printed a lot more clear up here, so I don't have to constantly say it to you guys. But this is 8 a.m., 9, 10. We already got some storms. You got to watch these already, kind of moving into northern Illinois. And then we continue to get to about lunchtime. We got some storms already moving through Rockford, getting close to Chicago. But I really think it's after that first band clears through. So this is 2 p.m. Even watch over here in Iowa, Davenport. These storms right here could already be spinning. And I'm going to talk about the ingredients setting the stage for severe weather in this area today. And then it's basically you got a triple point being met. And I'll talk about what that means. But the kinematics are maxed out. You have the turning with height big time up here because the low pressure, you're really close to it. So wind energy will be plentiful up here. The thing that you're really lacking is thermodynamic energy, your surface moisture, stuff like that. But we start to get into about 3 p.m. and look at Galesburg, Peoria, Davenport. All these storms right here could be producing a tornado. Okay, we take it into 4 p.m. You see that little weird little indentation right there? That is where it's trying to indicate this is a rotating thunderstorm. But all these could be Rockford. You got these nasty storms right on top of you. I remember just, this isn't going to be exactly what happens. It's just a model run. But all these storms could be producing really all hazards. And don't ignore these storms down here either, around Champaign, areas like that. And then we get into 5 p.m., and this is what I'm talking about right here. You see these storms sort of kind of tail whipping down here. I know there's a lot of gaps into here and here, but just because, for example, there's not a storm on Champaign, that does not mean that there's not going to be a storm there. Okay, it's just one model simulation run. So you get these back off. All these storms could be producing a tornado. Some large hail, some damaging winds, plenty of wind energy with this for sure. So you keep this going, and look, these storms start to get really close to Chicago. Some nasty storms begin to form, like near Evansville, some storms right near Lafayette. And listen, that enhanced risk extends several counties into Indiana. So you still got to continue to watch all these storms right here. Evansville, I'm already hesitant to try to pronounce that name. Terre Haute. Anyways, I'm sure somebody will correct me in the comments. But look at these storms moving right over Chicago around 7 p.m. tonight. I wouldn't, hear me say that time and say, hey, that's the exact time it's going to happen. Could be give or take an hour. Could be several hours off there, but we'll see what happens here. But South Bend, some storms moving in. These storms starting to move through Bloomington. They starting to move past Evansville, and I do think some cooler, dry air will blast through very fast. But look at these storms moving now east of Indianapolis, up through Fort Wayne. These could be producing some gusty winds and still a tornado threat, but I do think the tornado threat begins to drop off the further east you work with these storms, but still producing some severe hazards potentially with these storms. And then the rain, snow begins to move in behind it. So just a quick recap of that if you just didn't quite understand the timing. This is 1 p.m., 2 p.m., 3 p.m., 4 p.m. These are the storms I'm the most concerned about here in like northern and central Illinois. But the enhanced risk extends further south for a reason, so take that serious too. But you see these right here, like Davenport to Rockford, down to Peoria, over to Chicago, down to Springfield, Champaign also. I'm really concerned about these storms right here. It's around 5 p.m. I think really 3 to 6 p.m. is going to be a time frame to really watch. Those could really produce right into there. And then we'll have to watch any kind of other line segments to form after that. This is getting to 9, 10, 11 p.m. So let's move it up. I don't want to completely ignore my folks here in Wisconsin. This will mainly be kind of a rain-snow deal. But I want you to really focus in the southern areas right here. So Madison, Janesville, Milwaukee. There is a risk of severe weather up through here. So around 1 p.m., 2 p.m., 3 p.m., I want you to watch these storms kind of Madison points south. These could produce a quick spin up even pretty far north and some gusty winds. So just be careful if you live from Madison to Janesville, Milwaukee, all the other communities down there. There could be a risk of some strong to severe thunderstorms later on this afternoon, especially if this low pressure trends just ever so slightly to the north. That pulls up more of the ingredients to the north, and then it kind of just turns into heavy rain after that. Later this evening, you actually could get a switch to some snow. And then we kind of bump it back over to Ohio. I know I got some viewers from this area, and I don't want to ignore you guys here. 9 p.m., here's a time frame up here. Okay. 10 p.m., some storms start to move through Cincinnati, Dayton. And we kind of have like two lines of storms. One's already kind of fully into Ohio, affecting Bowling Green down to Dayton, starting to move into Columbus through Toledo. It's 11 p.m. And then maybe a stronger line moves in behind that around midnight. So stronger line of storms from Cincinnati all the way up to the Michigan-Ohio border. And these could produce some damaging winds, maybe some small hail, maybe a quick spin up. But I do think gusty winds is probably the biggest threat with these. And then they start to lose some steam as you really start to lose the ingredients for severe weather as you get closer to daybreak for tomorrow morning. But definitely watch, I would say, more so the western half of Ohio for some strong to severe storms later tonight. I wouldn't be overly concerned about these storms, though, in Ohio. Kentucky, Tennessee, this is where we'll round it off. You kind of are lacking, I would say, kinematics for any kind of significant severe weather threat down here. But this is around 6 p.m. Watch for kind of a broken line of convection, shower, and storm activity to form somewhere in western Tennessee, western Kentucky. And, kind of could be two little areas of storms, if you will. But some storms moving through Elizabethtown down to Bowling Green, Clarksville, Nashville, Columbia, Cookeville. Sometime around dinner time or just after tonight. It's around 8 p.m. what the radar could potentially look like. 9 p.m. This is 10 p.m. It could, be a loud evening for Louisville, like I mentioned. And then these storms start to, make it through and get closer, like the Cumberland Plateau, get into the eastern half of Tennessee and get into central Kentucky. And just watch for a thin line of storms. I wouldn't be overly concerned about these, though, to be honest with you. But the tornado threat, guys, is serious. This is the updraft Felicity swath. Please take this area. Well, that's probably too much. Please take this area right down here serious. And I know you don't see any slashes through here, but that don't mean you're not going to get any tornadoes down there. If you get any convection storms that form kind of down here in this this section of the circle right here, if you will, you are definitely going to have the risk for tornadoes. But it really indicates this area right here to be the biggest threat. And listen, Chicago, you're right in that area. I would not be surprised if they extend the enhanced risk up to Chicago. But if you live here in northern Illinois and surrounding states, please take this tornado threat serious because they will be moving fast today. you're not going to have a whole lot of time to prepare. Very fast storm motion rolling and rumbling through here today. Okay. So where you see these slashes, this is where this particular run of the HRRR model is indicating strong rotation with the storms. It does form. So speaking on the ingredients of triple points being met today, this is where you have the best connection. Your triple point is where you have your best lift for thunderstorms to really get those storms going, your best moisture, and also your best kinematics, your best wind energy or favorable winds in the upper levels of the atmosphere. Where do they all meet? Up to the actual low pressure, which is that triple point. They all kind of meet right up into here. Okay, and this is starting it off this morning. So they all kind of come up here and meet real quick right in here. But you see this little thin slither of moisture. It's not deep Gulf moisture up here. That stays down to the south, but there's enough to fuel this threat. And I think this is uptrend a little bit, which is why the severe weather threat is uptrended. But you start to get to about midday. You see how you get this spike in dew points? I mean, it looks like I think they will. They get all the way into, the dew points get all the way into like the low 60s. I really think right up into here, this is where you're going to have your highest tornado threat. And they all kind of come up here and meet at that triple point. Okay? And you can see how there's like this weird little front right in here. And then that's that kind of warm front being pulled all the way north from the low pressure way up here. And you see all this dry air right here surging in. But that low pressure is yanking in winds out the south in general all the way up here to areas of the Midwest. So that's that triple point. It's basically like the low pressure is kind of yanking up all the ingredients temporarily for severe weather. And you keep going, and there it is. It's going to be a cool surface, really analyzing the surface out here as far as actual real-time conditions this afternoon. This happens multiple times a year, but it's always cool to look at. But unfortunately, it is going to bring a risk of strong to severe storms capable of producing strong tornadoes. But it all meets up right up here, so you'll get that dew point spike. And then the cold front will blast through and then dry out the atmosphere. And then you look at the kinematics. So basically this is that low level wind flow. And you see how the wind barbs right here are pointing, the flag is pointing to the south. So you basically have this kind of downward movement right here, low pressure kind of moving through here. So the downward movement is going to pull down a lot of dry air. So there's not going to be any severe weather on the backside of the low. But if you get on the front side of the low, winds are kind of coming like this, and then they're screaming up like this. This is the low-level wind field. Winds at about 4,000 to 6,000 feet up in the air. So these winds kind of going up through here is bringing all that moisture. It's also bringing a low-level jet. So a lot of wind energy is kind of surging through this area right here in the low levels. So this is bringing a lot of favorable wind energy for severe weather and damaging winds and a tornado. So you get this brief, almost low-level jet right through here. That supports some severe weather, then the low pulls through and then stabilizes the atmosphere. So it's an interesting little event today, but it's going to be a dangerous one. All right, let's give you some brief updated information on this blizzard. We got blizzard warnings still ongoing all the way down to Dodge City now. Pretty wild. Blizzard warnings through Lincoln, Omaha. This is ongoing right now, or about to get going in these areas. Dodge City blizzard warnings, Sioux City blizzard warnings, Mason City up to Rochester. No alerts in Des Moines, but you can see there's severe thunderstorm warning. There's a severe thunderstorm warning right now in Hampton, Iowa, where there's a blizzard warning also. Unreal stuff. The word is dynamic. Dynamic is the word of the day. And then as winds are not predicted to be as strong, just winter storm warnings, up through Eau Claire, all the way up to the UP of Michigan, Marquette, everybody in between. So a weird little thing going on here where, you know, you get these counties that don't have anything but winter weather advisories here. So I'm not quite sure what's going on with that. But anyways, yeah, pretty wild system. And if we just take a look at what the HRRR model is showing today for these areas, let's get this in motion. This is getting, this is this morning. This is getting into about midday. The very thin corridor of heavy snow. I mean, the wraparound snow is trying to get all the way down to almost the Oklahoma-Kansas border. Low pressure going right over or just north of St. Louis. There's those storms starting to fire up right here, but let's focus on the snow. This is a very thin but very heavy corridor of snow right in here. I mean, it's going to be snowing 1 to 2 inch per hour rates, blowing around blizzard conditions. But you keep going here. This is getting into about 5, 6 o'clock. Snow still falling back in Iowa. Rain probably tries to switch to some snow later on this evening, even all the way down to Kansas City. Rain tries to switch to snow in like Wisconsin, where it isn't snowing already. Some areas will just start to snow in Wisconsin and then stay at snow. But some areas will start as rain and then switch to really heavy snow. It'll be interesting what happens this evening, say in like southern Wisconsin. Could go from thunderstorms to really heavy wet snow, maybe as far south as Madison and Janesville. But there's an opportunity for a really heavy burst of snow in areas that maybe are just expecting mainly rain in this system. It could get a little tricky in this area and maybe catch some people by surprise. It does switch to a period of very heavy snow, like from Green Bay, the entire UP of Michigan. This is getting into 9 or 10 o'clock this evening. And then what we'll watch for is some backside rain switching to snow late tonight. It's around 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. So there is a chance that we get a strong tornado in the northern half of Illinois this afternoon to this evening. And then by the time you get to just after midnight, it is snowing and accumulating in the northern half of Illinois. And you'll probably, wake up to some snow flying around all the way down to Chicago. So an interesting little event for sure. It's not little. It's kind of little, but it's strong, if that makes sense. So could get some snow tomorrow morning across the UP of Michigan. Could even get some snow. Lower Michigan. Could even get some backside snow all the way down to like Detroit and some snow showers tomorrow afternoon all the way down to Ohio and even Indiana. So the predicted latest snowfall forecast, and the reason I'm not showing Nebraska is because this is happening right now. But Omaha, Lincoln's going to get the potential for probably 3 to as much as 6 inches of snow. But you see how small this corridor is through Iowa. Des Moines not really going for anything, but Dodge, Fort Dodge, 6 to 8 inches of snow. Carroll 8 to 12, Storm Lake 8 to 12, Mason City 8 to 12 inches of snow. Very thin corridor. Sioux City 4 to 6. So this is starting already right now. So some of this is probably already on the ground. And then snowfall as we start to get into southern sections of Minnesota into Wisconsin. Rochester updated totals is around 4 to 11. Minneapolis 0 to 1 now, but that could change. Eau Claire 1 to 6, very wide range across 3 to 7. Up to Wisconsin Rapids 4 to 8. Woosall 5 to 10. Medford 4 to 9. Preston 6 to 11. So very thin corridor. All right. Now we get to like kind of the Green Bay area. Green Bay could get 1 to 4 inches of snow. They kind of got this area down here south of the main corridor with some wide ranges. And I think it's just because there's still some questions on if what like the HRRR model is showing is actually going to happen in this area. Some heavy rain could switch to some very heavy snow in this area, and you could get a surprise. 2 to 7 in Sister Bay, pretty wild. But the main axis of snow is certainly up through here. Through kind of north, central, and northern areas of Wisconsin. Florence 7 to 11, Rhinelander 7 to 12, and then the UP of Michigan will get a solid late season winter storm out of this. Newberry 6 to 12. A lot of names I don't even bother trying to pronounce up here, but I love you guys up in the UP, so I try my best. Watson 6 to 11, Republic 3 to 10, very wide range. Marquette 3 to 9, so. Definitely I think there's going to be some sharp cutoffs in this area for sure. And then, you bump it down to southern Wisconsin. This is a tricky area. Some areas could get hardly nothing. Some could get 1 to 3 inches of snow. Milwaukee going for around 2 inches or less. Janesville, same thing. Madison, same thing. And then we get into northern Illinois. I really think someone's going to get 1 to 3 inches of snow in this area after getting that risk of very nasty, severe thunderstorms today. So DeKalb, 1 to 3, Princeton, 1 to 2, Chicago, 1 inch or less of snow, Rockford, 2 inches or less. So you're probably going to get some accumulating snow through this area. And this is the winds, guys, very strong right now. Blizzard conditions through Kansas, Nebraska, starting to move into Iowa. But very strong winds all the way down to western Oklahoma, the panhandle of Texas, even right now. But this storm is definitely kicking up some very strong winds, guys, for sure. So now there is going to be a risk of severe weather for Sunday. So I don't have a whole lot of detail on this. We know that some energy is coming down from the northwest. There's already going to be some moisture in place, and with enough flow overriding a moist air mass, we are certainly going to have a risk of thunderstorms. So right now, all we know is that areas from Dallas to Shreveport down to College Station, all the way down to almost say Baton Rouge and Lafayette, Alexandria, Monroe, Vicksburg, Jackson, Macomb, up to Greenville, Greenwood, El Dorado, and pretty much almost the entire southern sections of Arkansas. You got a level 2 out of 5 risk of severe weather at day 5 for Sunday. So we're going to have severe weather. This has not increased yet, but for now, certainly an elevated risk of severe weather. We'll have to get all the details as we get a little bit closer, especially as we get into tomorrow. So did just want to hit on that really quick. But as far as the rest of the weather for today, the southeast, we're going to get some moisture, some showers are possible. But here are some storms that could develop in Alabama and Mississippi. This is around 5, 6 o'clock this afternoon to this evening. And don't be surprised you get some thunderstorms through Mississippi, really anywhere. Starting to move into Alabama tonight. This is around 8, 9 o'clock. Some storms we've already talked about in Tennessee. You got the storms moving through northern Alabama. And then it could just be a thin line of storms that moves through Montgomery, Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, through about midnight. And then the storms will probably lose some steam. Could get some showers overnight. Some basically a pollen washer, I would say, but nothing too crazy. But it is pretty wild how the line of storms extends all the way into the Gulf from this low up here. And then we're going to wake up to some showers probably from Georgia to the Panhandle, Florida, all the way up to the Appalachian Mountains. But I wouldn't be too overly concerned about the severe weather down here in the Deep South. But don't be surprised you get, a strong to severe storm either for the Deep South. The Northeast, nothing to really speak on. Quiet. We got some weather starting to move in from the west. We've already spoke on Ohio. But we're going to wake up to some rain showers, probably in Erie, maybe a rumble of thunder, West Virginia, Western PA, Western New York, some showers you're definitely going to wake up to for tomorrow morning. And then we'll have a little bit more of an active day for tomorrow for the Northeast. Northeast has kind of been quiet lately. South Central U.S., there's those showers, kind of moist return for Louisiana. We're probably going to try to get a period of snow wrapping around all the way through eastern Kansas, Kansas City. I would not be surprised if later this evening you get a mix of rain and snow, or just maybe snow in Springfield. Some snow showers are possible tonight as far south as northern Arkansas. Don't let it catch you by surprise. I wouldn't be surprised one bit. And then that's it. Everybody else, just gusty winds. Watch out for the fire risk. Things like that. So we've already talked about the north central U.S. out west. We got a big storm system moving in. This is going to bring higher elevation snow, lower elevation rain, some gusty winds as a strong low pressure is up here to the north and northwest. So just some more energy surging through out west. Now temperatures big surge of warm air all the way up into southern Ontario, lower Michigan. It could get well into the 70s in Detroit today. Look at this surge of warm air. It's going to feel nice in New England today. Now, not everybody. Unfortunately, it's just that time of the year where you just get the wrong flow off the ocean. And for example, Boston, you might not get out the 30s. But you head on over to the western side of Massachusetts, you're going to be chilling in the 60s. So the southeast, mid-Atlantic, nice day in the 70s and 80s. And then temperatures out west, definitely cooler for the most part. That's all I got. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all, and have a wonderful and stay safe day in the Midwest today with those strong tornadoes. Take that serious, guys. They're going to be fast movers. God bless.